to show you part 2 of Photoshop animation. By now, you've looked at part 1 and you have created a new file and you've made sure that it is a web file and you're ready to go. In the event that you had a white background, which very well may be the case, you're going to start by creating a new layer, and you can click the shortcut over here for a new layer, or along the top you could go ahead and say layer, new, layer, okay. Remember, you can always delete layers by right-clicking on them over here. So I've just got one transparent layer to start with. So you could, you can use the brush tool, the pen tool, you can draw, you can import pictures, you can cut and paste pictures from the internet and take off the background and play around with them. But what I'm going to do is I just want to show you a couple things. So if I was to paste a picture of a color wheel, which I already have on my clipboard, if I was to move this and animate this, the first thing I probably would want to do is I would want to take off the background. Okay, and you're going to want to have a transparent background around your object because you're going to want to add your own background. So let's say I had the color wheel here, okay, and I wanted to animate it. So I would need to duplicate the layer. So you can right click by duplicating the layer. And then the second time I have a color wheel, I'm going to just move it over a little bit, okay? I could even move it and turn it a little bit. And then I want to just keep repeating the process. And each time I'm continuing to build on what I have and continuing to build on the movement. And this is just a really simple example. And after you move a piece, you've got to click yes by clicking the green arrow, or no if you didn't like the move. If the other layers are distracting you, you can always hide them, but you're always going to want to have the one layer underneath so that you can sort of judge your movement from the last one. Okay. So right now I've got 5 color wheels, and this would just be a short amount of movement. So if you like what you have as you work, you should always save it. So you've already saved it as a file, so you would just say File, Save. But if you want to see what you have, how it's animating, if you go down to File, Save for Web, you would click, oops, cancel. You want to make sure all your layers are visible. So that's a common mistake. So before you look at it as a GIF, you want to make sure that you've got the eye clicked so you can see all your layers. So I'm going to say File, Save for Web, and I'm going to click this box that says Animate. And right down here it says Preview, so you can preview it. And the frame delay right now is 0.2, and that's frames per second. So I can go ahead and I can increase that, or I can decrease that. You can also type a number in. So as I look at the drop-down menu, there's 0.2, and then there's 0.5. I sometimes like 0.3, but you can, you'll want to look at it and adjust it as you go. You want to preview it. So right now it says Preview in Chrome. That's because I've set Chrome. The default is Internet Explorer. So you should probably click Other if it's Internet Explorer and just select Chrome. But once it's Chrome, all you do is you click this and you can see what you have so far. So I can see my color wheel is sort of turning and moving. And if I want it to be faster, I can just switch the frame delay and take a look at it. Okay, so as you're working, you can see that. So now, that's good for now, so I'm just going to say cancel. Let's say you wanted a background. So if I wanted a background on my piece, so I'm going to show you a different example. So here I have a ball that I just drew by using the elliptical marquee tool, and I have 4 layers of the ball moving. And then I added in a background. So right here I've got a desert picture. So if I said File, Save for Web, just to animate and look at what I have right now, okay, I would have the ball and then a picture of the desert. They're not together. So what I need to do is I need to sort of marry them together. So I am going to, let's see, if I right click here, I want to duplicate the layer because I actually need a separate background for each picture. So this would be my first background. My second background I want to move over a little bit. So I want to click on the Move tool. And I can use my arrow keys because I want to move it just a little. So I did, I hit my arrow key like 5 or 6 times. And I try to remember the increments I'm doing. So, and then if I duplicate this one, And I can take this, and now I'm going to use my arrow key and do another 5 or 6 times. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to duplicate this layer and say okay. And I'm going to move this one another 5 or 6 times. And then I'm going to continue to do this so that the landscape is moving. When I did my Mona Lisa, which is my example here, what I did was, for the rain, I just moved it a little bit up and down for each one. So I actually started at the bottom, and I just moved it up for each one. So let's go back here. So now I've got my layers, but they're all separate. So if you were to look at this as a GIF, you'd see desert ball, desert ball, desert ball. And you want them to be together. So I'm going to hide them all, except for the bottom 2. And I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say merge visible. So now they're one layer. And I'm going to go to the next 2 and say merge visible. The next 2, merge visible, hide them, and then the last 2. Now, obviously, this is not that many layers. You would definitely want to have more for your animated GIF. This is just an example. So now I've got, you can see the ball is moving, but also the landscape is sort of moving in the background. So if I said File, Save for Web, clicking Animate, and looking in my browser, I can see that I've got the ball moving and the background moving. So that looks pretty cool. So cancel. So now I'm sort of liking what I have. So I'm going to say File, Save As. I'm going to save it on the desktop, and I'm going to say Bouncing Desert Ball. Oops, desert has 1 S. Dessert has 2, because you always want a second helping. And I'm just going to save this as a Photoshop file. You don't want to save it as an animation until you are completely done. So go ahead, continue to make your picture and save it as you go. And the next video will show you how to save when you are completely done. Obviously, I just want to show you this. If you look at my Mona Lisa, so in each Mona Lisa picture I had, in each frame, I had the background of the rain, and then I had the color wheel behind her, but then for the ones where I wanted it transparent on top of her, let me go down here, where's the one? When I wanted it transparent on top of her, I added in a second one, and I made that transparent. So there's a lot of fun things you can do, and I can help you during class, during office hours. Make sure you're coming to class on Teams. So continue to work on your animation. You'll have one day when we first learned about it in class to create a practice animation. And then after that, it's an optional, if you may choose to do it for your project, or you may choose to do stop motion studio with manipulatives. You'll have some choices. But this is sort of the meat of how you would structure your layers and combine them.